A river that sustains some 60 million people is dying. The Mekong is one of the world's largest river systems, but man-made construction activity in the form of dams is slowly choking the river. Nearly 5,000 kilometers long, the river flows through 6 countries: China, Myanmar, Vietnam, Laos, Thailand and Cambodia. But along the way, a network of dams is interrupting its natural flow. Some 80 new dams are planned in addition to the ones already existing. Our correspondent reports on the impact that choking the flow of water with its life-giving nutrients is having.
The color of the Mekong River has changed from a murky brown to aquamarine blue. A fascinating motif for tourists and selfie fans, and a dry, rainy season certainly was responsible for this. But the root cause might be found upstream. China has built 7 hydropower dams on the upper Mekong and many more are planned. Laos recently completed the Hydropower dam on the lower Mekong. This is severely disrupting the water flow and its sediments downstream. But 60 million people depend on the water and the nutrients of the Mekong directly for fishing and farming, like this fisherman in Nakhon Phanom in Thailand.
The water level is too low, and the climate is also changing. The water is lower than in other years. In the clear and shallow water, there are far fewer fish coming up the river. I only catch 60% of what I used to catch.
Last year, I could catch a lot of fish and sell them for 200 baht a kilo. Now there's not much fish, not even enough to pay for the fuel. So I have to grow vegetables and flowers to supplement our income.
Low water levels like now normally occur at the end of the dry season. But that season only recently began, and water has already gotten scarce. Many more dams like this one are being planned on the tributaries of the Mekong as well. This will escalate the problems of those depending on a healthy river basin. Experts from institutes like the science faculty in Nakhon Phanom University have been sounding the alarm for some time now.
I think fishermen cannot fish anymore, and they cannot grow any crop beside the riverbank because there is no nutrient that come with the water in rainy season. The sound of the river told us about, I'm sick now, and I think we should listen to the river and try to treat the river now before everything is late.
The Mekong ecosystem seems to be in peril, but nobody has yet halted a single dam project. The lucrative promises have proven too enticing. Drought, less fish and dying crops are the grim outlook for the people on the banks of the Mekong.
When the water is so low, it's not good for fishing because we live from hand to mouth.
As long as there are hardly any fish to catch, fishermen can only bide their time by repairing their boats and pray to the spirits for better times. But as things are now, not even those spirits can help.
And joining me now from Chiang Rai in northern Thailand is Pianporn Dites from the advocacy group International Rivers, where she's the Thailand and Burma campaigns director. Ms. Dites, welcome. Now, it is quite clear that rampant dam building is having an adverse impact on the Mekong. The question is, why is it still happening?
Yeah, it's already been second decade that the communities along the Mekong River has felt and experienced the downstream impacts of dams that built in China. Already 11 hydropower stations there, and in the lower reaches, 2 dams already be constructed. The Sayaburi and Don Sahong Dam, both in Laos on the mainstream rivers. I think the reason why the impact has still been going on is because there is no political will from 6 riparian countries that share the Mekong River to be sincere to the problem and negotiate and try to manage the Mekong River in the good governance manner.
It's interesting you mentioned the Mekong River Commission because it was set up precisely to monitor the river. It's an intergovernmental body. So are you basically saying that the Mekong River Commission exists in name only?
Yeah, pretty much, because the member country are only 4 downstream countries: Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, without participation from upstream countries like China and Myanmar. So decision making that on regarding the hydropower does not include all riparian governments. And even though the Mekong River Commission has process and agreements to manage the Mekong River in good manner, anyway, we have seen that lots of plan for hydropower on the Mekong River has very much not based on knowledge that produced by the Mekong River Commission, but more on political and financial benefits of some country or some sectors and some industries, not for the riparian communities as a whole.
Let's just talk about those communities. We're talking about roughly 60 million people who depend on the Mekong in some way. Is there any plan of action to help them in any way if the activities on the Mekong continue in the way they are currently?
Not really. We haven't heard any plan to mitigate the impact of existing hydropower station, even though it are both in China and in Laos. But what we have seen is that riparian riverine communities have experienced and witnessed the change of ecosystem, the loss of livelihoods and destruction of ecosystem services, loss of fisheries, and loss of income, for example. So meaning that millions of people are now bearing the cost for the name of the development of hydropower on the Mekong River without adequate mitigation measures for them.
So not a very bright prognosis there, but thank you so much for speaking to us, Pianporn Ditis.
Thank you.